Hello everyone, myself Anubhav Singh, and I have secured All India Rank 8th in Civil Service Examination 2017, and I have done my civil engineering BTech from IIT Roorkee in 2015, and I was earlier in the Indian Revenue Service from Civil Service Examination 2016, in which I had gotten Indian Revenue Service income tax. So in this video, I'm going to share my strategy for all the 3 stages of examination, that is prelims, mains, and interview. So let's start from prelims. In which I have scored 142 in the 2016 examination and 105.34 in the 2017 examination. So I would explain what worked and what didn't work for me so that you are able to check out your own strategy, taking cue from whatever sources and strategies I am going to mention. So first thing is that I would suggest that one should read the basic textbooks such as Bipin Chandra, Spectrum for Modern India, and NCERT Geography, NCERT Macroeconomics and Economic Development of class 11th. Along with that, Lakshmikant for Polity, and current affairs from various sources which one finds appropriate. For example, one can read the newspapers directly, or one can refer to the various magazines or ForumIAS articles which are published by ForumIAS from time to time. So for current affairs, you can choose your own source and decide in what way you are going to prepare. But for static subjects, I think there is a set pattern for preparing those subjects. What you got to do is that you will have to read those particular standard textbooks repetitively. For example, if you are reading books such as Lakshmikant and Spectrum for 5 to 6 times, then you will be able to get every question in which you are getting in the prelims examination. But if you have read the books only once or twice, I don't think it would be possible to attempt all the questions which came from that book only. So you will have to repeat those books over and over again so as to gain confidence and attempt all the questions from that particular topic. And apart from that, as now we are seeing that prelims has become very unpredictable, and it is very difficult to consistently score in examinations. So I would suggest that apart from current affairs and GS standard textbooks preparation, one should take a look at the question paper itself and decide whatever sources are appropriate and whatever sources one should prefer. For example, the sources which worked in 2016 might not work properly for 2017 or 2018 examination. So one should examine closely the question papers of last 2 or 3 years to get an idea of what kind of questions they are going to ask in that year's prelims examination. So that is very important. Taking a look at last 4 to 5 years paper to analyze the patterns from various subjects, be it static subjects or be it the current affairs topic. So one gets a broad idea on the pattern of questions and the level of the questions which are going to be asked. And as far as the CSAT paper is concerned, the CSAT is also getting tough from year to year. So one should not leave that section completely, and must attempt at least 5 to 6 CSAT papers in order to get a level of confidence which is necessary while attempting the paper in actual examination. So one should attempt at least 5 years old papers of CSAT to get a level of confidence. Apart from that, one should practice comprehension and mathematics and reasoning questions to get a hold on those particular topics. Now these are the broad things about prelims, and the detailed book list of prelims can be found in my blog or in the blog of other toppers as well at ForumIAS. So you can get the book list from those blogs. Now I will come to the mains examination. So first I will discuss the general strategy of essay paper. So there are 2 parts of essay paper. First is that the part 1 essay. Part 1 essay is generally connected to one another GS topic, in which one needs to be aware of various things happening in the current environment, along with the basic subject knowledge of each GS paper. So if you are comfortable with GS topics, then I don't think there will be any problem in writing the part 1 essay. But the other thing is that you should focus more on your structure always, because even if you have read and you have reproduced the content in the examination, you might not be able to score very well despite writing the content. So you should be able to structure your content in a manner which pleases the examiner. So try to get your structure by looking at the copies of previous top scorers, by looking at which you will be able to check out your own strategy, and you will be able to decide on your set pattern of the essay on which you would like to write your essay. So that is very important. You will have the content for part A essay if you have prepared GS topics properly, and you should prepare your strategy for your structure of the essay. You can divide it in, for example, introduction and pros and cons of the paper, and pros and cons of the topic, and then you can write the conclusion. And the manner of writing the conclusion, you can learn that from essays written by top scorers. The conclusion of the essay should be on the essay should end on an optimistic note with a positive sentiment. You should never end your essay with a negative sentiment. It gets around. It gets rebuttal from the examiner if you do so. So try to orient your essay in a particular structure, and you can get that structure by looking at toppers copies. As far as the part B essay is concerned, I would say that most of the topics which are being asked in UPSC essay paper, they are either they have a philosophical bent or they have science and technology bent. So you can choose whatever topic you want to write, and you can prepare that topic well. For example, if you are planning to write on philosophical topic, then please acquaint yourself from various major thinkers' thoughts. For example, Kierkegaard and Kant and Nietzsche. You can acquaint yourself with their thoughts, so that you are able to structure your arguments in a better manner, and you are able to reproduce whatever you have read in a ideologically and philosophically sound manner. So if you have not read anything and you are going to write a philosophical essay, it is very much probable that you will end up scoring less. So if you are planning to write a philosophical essay, please increase your knowledge of classical literature and philosophy. That will ensure that you will get decent marks. And if you are planning to write a science and technology essay, then it is fine, and you must have a good hold on science and technology topics such as social media, digital economy, etc. And you should prepare very well those topics in GS also, because if you have prepared those topics in GS in a better manner, you will be able to form your arguments and defend your arguments in a better manner in the essay also. So that is all I think which is important in the essay paper. Now I will come to the general studies paper. So there are 4 papers. The first paper mainly consists of history, geography, and some sociological questions are also there. So the basic strategy is to refer to standard textbooks and revise them properly. And for example, those book lists can be found at my blog at ForumIAS or in other blogs also. So those books should be read and reread so as to get a hold of particular topic, and to be able to write a better answer, one has to prepare that topic in detail. So that is the difference between prelims and mains examination. One is that you will have to identify a pattern, and in other you will have to reproduce the content. So there is a difference. There is a difference in the psychological way in which your memory attracts various thoughts and issues. So you must be able to differentiate those strategies for prelims and mains. So in mains examination, try to get as much clarity as possible, so as to enable you to write better and comprehensive answers for questions which are being asked. And for geography, I think the NCERT 11th and 12th are more than enough, and you don't need any other material, except I think Goh Ching Leong can be referred for certain topics in physical geography. In sociology, I think there is hardly any book which can help. If you are observing societal conditions, you will be able to write those answers in a better manner. And in GS2 paper, you will have to keep a tab on current affairs relating to polity and internal affairs and international relations. So try to follow any topic or any event, and try to write comprehensive notes about those topics. You can also refer to the forums articles which are posted from time to time by the ForumIAS. So you can refer to those articles for a comprehensive study of that topic. Apart from that, I would say that you can refer to any compiled notes for international relations, or you can go to Observer Research Foundation's website, and you will be able to find articles concerning the international relations between India and other countries. And apart from that, answer writing is very important, both in all GS papers, be it GS 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you should practice at least 4 or 5 questions per day, apart from attempting the test series as well. So this is where the MGP comes in which you write some 8 or 16 tests depending upon the program you have taken. For example, I wrote 8 tests in ForumIAS MGP, and what I did was I wrote those test series, and then I tagged to my mentor Asif sir, and he suggested me various steps to rectify those problems which I was having in my answers. So this is very important, because the first thing is that you must be able to complete your answers in 3 hours, and you will be able to do that only if you have done a lot of practice. That is one. And apart from that, the quality and content visibility of the answers can be improved only by writing test series papers. So this is very important, that you write 3 or 4 questions per day, and you attempt your test series very seriously, and you take that feedback very seriously and work on that to rectify your mistakes and problems. So that is very important. In GS3, apart from understanding of broader macroeconomic aspects, one has to get a hold of current economic happenings from the Economic Survey of India, which is published by Department of Economic Affairs. So the volume 1 is more important than volume 2. So if you are able to finish volume 1, then only you go to volume 2. And by reading that particular document, you will be able to get a hold on economic issues of the country, and that will enable you to write the answers of economy questions in the paper. And as far as science and technology is concerned, that part is very unpredictable in my view, and you should prepare that by closely looking at the syllabus and keeping a tab on current affairs relating to science and technology. So you can prepare science and technology from various magazines, which, for example, Yojana or Science Reporter, and or otherwise you can prepare those from newspapers as well. But get this, that science and technology is very unpredictable, and if you prepare closely with the help of syllabus, then only you are going to be able to attempt those questions. If you are reading anything or everything which are coming in newspaper, then you will not be able to focus properly on science and technology topics. Same goes for internal affairs as well. And in GS4, I would suggest that one should read the basic material relating to the first half of the paper. And apart from reading that, one should get himself acquainted with some thinkers like Kant, like utilitarian thinkers, so as to get a hold on the terms mentioned in the syllabus. And apart from that, in GS4, it is very important to write answers, write test series, because writing style affects more marks in GS4 than in any other papers. So you will have to get your writing strategy right before attempting the GS paper 4. So you will have to attempt the case studies, you will have to attempt the theoretical questions in a better manner to score more in the examination. So you can go to the ForumIAS, and you can take a look at toppers copies for ethics, and you can decide your own strategy for writing down the case studies or the theoretical questions which are asked in GS paper 4. So that is pretty much of it. And the general guidelines regarding the GS is that I would say that one should attempt all the questions if possible, and if not possible, then one should attempt as many as questions possible. If leave the question only if you don't have any idea about the question, because even if you write something in the question, it fetches you 1 or 2 marks, which are going to be deciding your service or your cadre. So be careful about that, and try to attempt as many questions as possible. So that is pretty much about GS. And now I would come to my optional subject, which is mathematics, and I would share my strategy and discuss it with you people. So the first thing about optional is that choose your optional very carefully, and the interest in any subject is not the sole criteria of selecting the optional. If you are interested in any particular subject and you think that you will not be able to score very much in that particular paper after seeing the UPSC paper, then please don't choose that optional. Choose that optional in which you are going to be scored much better than in any other subject. So choose any optional by looking at 3 criteria. One is interest, and other is background, and the most important is scorability. if you can't score in any particular paper, there is no point in taking that optional. You are not going to pursue research or any postdoctoral study in that particular subject. You are going to have a general view of that subject, and you are going to read it up to at most the post-graduation level. So don't take interest as only criteria to select optional subject. Also consider scoreability in that particular subject. So after deciding the optional, for example, I will explain my strategy in mathematics, because for other optionals, you can go to the blogs of other toppers who have those particular optionals. So in mathematics, the syllabus was huge, so most of my time went for preparing for maths. So as a result, I was able to focus less on GS. As a consequence, I was able to secure only 370 marks in GS in my first attempt. So which landed me in Indian Revenue Service. Otherwise, I could have gotten Indian Administrative Service in my first attempt also. So the drawback of science and engineering optionals is that you won't be able to focus more on GS, and you will have to focus more on optional, as these options are very bulky and they demand much time and effort to complete their syllabus and to attempt those questions. So choose very carefully, and if you can devote that much time, and if you have that much energy and caliber that you can tackle those optionals, for example, mathematics or electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, only then you take these science and engineering optionals. Because you don't have much time, you will not have much time to devote to GS. So after selecting the optional, and if you have engineering and science optional, there is a sense of predictability in these optionals. So the overall unpredictability of the examination gets reduced if you have science and engineering optional. You will have a core strength. For example, if you have maths optional and you have attempted the paper well, then you can be sure that you will get at least 300 marks or 320 marks. That can't be said about other optionals. So that is the perk of science and engineering optionals, but they take much effort as well. So that must be considered. So the detailed mathematics book list and strategy I have mentioned in my document at ForumIAS, and I will suggest that one should go through blogs of Prakash Raj Purohit and Nitish K before starting his journey in mathematics optional, and one should buy those books which they have mentioned. And if one is knowledgeable enough and one is informed enough, then he can also have his own book list. But largely one should follow whatever is suggested by Prakash Raj Purohit and Nitish K, because those books are the books in which the questions are generally directly taken from, and those books are very, very helpful. And apart from that, I would say that there are two things in mathematics optional which should be considered very carefully. One is speed and other is accuracy. You will have to solve 25 to 27 questions in 3 hours with considerable amount of accuracy, because otherwise you won't be able to score much in mathematics. Sorry. So So in mathematics, accuracy is of central importance. If you can't attempt questions with accuracy, your attempt does not matter. So try to practice as much as possible, and try to solve last 15-year papers of civil service examination and the Indian Forest Service examination before sitting in the examination. Prepare those 15 years past papers thoroughly in order to get yourself acquainted with the level of questions and the level of preparation which is necessary to attempt the paper in the examination. And I will suggest that one should focus on textbooks only and not various notes which are available in market. And the textbook study, one should focus on all the standard solved examples which are there in textbooks, and also some unsolved questions if one thinks that he has the time to solve these questions. So practice, practice, and practice. This is the central formula of mathematics. By practicing a lot, you will get a hold on topics, a hold on concepts, and apart from that, you will also improve your speed and accuracy. And another thing which generally mathematics students get wrong in this option subject is that they don't solve the questions fully. What they do is that they solve the questions, let's say 1/3 and half, and after that they say that, oh, only these and these steps are involved, I can do this question, ye to ho jayega. But what happens in the examination is that after doing those half steps, they forget what other steps are, and they don't get the exact answer which is needed in order to get better marks. So one should complete all the questions which one is practicing, and one should not leave the questions by thinking that ये तो हो जाएगा. This ये तो हो जाएगा attitude is very difficult in mathematics, and if you can't cure yourself with this attitude, you will end up with less marks. So that is one. And another is that mathematics has some topics like abstract algebra, fluid dynamics, which are, I would say, very, very difficult to cover and very, very difficult to understand. Those concepts of abstract algebra are very difficult to understand if you don't have a fundamental mathematical aptitude. So I would suggest that one should first end those topics which are applied in nature. First, for example, differential equations, for example, linear programming, for example, linear algebra. These topics should be finished first before coming to abstract algebra or fluid dynamics, because these are the topics which need more effort and more caliber and capacity to tackle. So one should first finish the topics which are easy and applied in nature. Only after that one should focus on pure mathematics parts of the syllabus. Because, for example, I prepared abstract algebra for 2 months in my second attempt, but even after that I wasn't able to solve any of the questions asked from abstract algebra sections. So be very careful about what sections you are preparing well, and prepare at least 80 to 90% of the sections thoroughly, and last 10% of sections prepare only if you have enough time you can devote. So I would suggest that abstract algebra, fluid dynamics, and rigid dynamics, these topics you should prepare only if you have time. Otherwise, you can focus on other topics because they are much more rewarding in nature, and they will help you in getting your rank, and they will help you in getting selected. So that is the broad strategy which one should follow in mathematics. And the detailed strategy can be read on my blog, along with the blogs I have mentioned, that is of Nitishki and Prakash Raj Purohit. So after the prelims and mains section, I will come to the interview section. So I have this experience of getting 140 in my first attempt, in which I was not shocked. I was expecting around 150, but I got 140. So the thing is that interview is quite unpredictable. But if one works very hard, he can reduce the amount of unpredictability that is inherent in the process. For example, if you prepare your background, for example, my background was civil engineering. If you prepare your background very well, if you prepare your hometown very well, if you prepare your college very well, if you prepare your hobbies very well, then there is a fair chance that you will end up with fair marks, if not very good marks. So the inherent unpredictability of the interview can be countered with better preparation and better guidance. For example, after getting 140 in the first attempt, I came to the ForumIAS and met Asif sir and G Babu sir, and I discussed with them detail in my DAF, and I also gave one mock interview to them. After that, they diagnosed my problems, and I was able to work on them, and I was able to rectify some of them. As a result, I secured much better marks than last time. Although 165 is also a very average mark, but it was a huge improvement for me if you consider. So rectification and identification and rectification of issues in interviews is very important. And giving mock interviews can also be helpful if you are thinking that you are not very comfortable in front of the interview board. So take as many mock interviews as possible, but not more than 8 or 9. So that mock interview experience will help you in orienting yourself with respect to the interview process of the UPSC, and you will be able to express yourself more appropriately and confidently in the actual interview if you have taken the mock interviews. So, and in the end, I would say that I have also improved some 40 or 45 marks in my GS as well. So that is, I think that is largely the result of the MGP I had taken from Forum, and I was able to get one-to-one guidance from Asif sir, and he told me many mistakes, and he told me to improve my content visibility. I think that is what resulted in 45 more marks, and which improved my rank considerably, apart from mathematics and essay. So with this, I would end my talk, and I would suggest that one should have a balance between personal life and preparation life while one is preparing, and one should not get very narrow-minded while preparing for the examination. One should focus on all aspects of life, and I would also like to wish good luck and good life for all future aspirants. Thank you very much.